and welcome to another installment from Pro Engineering. This is the Trailfinder 2 Mini, and in this episode we are going to install some little goodies that I simply scaled down from my big Trailfinder design files. Here we have a roll bar, here we have a bull bar, and lastly the rear bumper. Now the roll bar and the bull bar do have these lovely corresponding KC lights that we'll finish detailing and installing, but let's go ahead and start with the installation. So these three are 3D printed using multi-jet fusion, and it's incredibly durable, but it does have a kind of a grainy texture, and these are available only in gray. There's no additional reason to get the black ones because it costs even more, and you're still getting a kind of a rough finish. So what we're looking at here is about half a dozen coats of low gloss black, and it gives it a bit of a sheen. And I suppose if you come in here and sand it all down, and it'll clean up the surface. But I use these trucks, so I think this is absolutely good enough. Before we install the roll bar and the bull bar, I do want to put on these little lamps. The first thing I'm going to do is take them off their little sprues and glue them into place. Once they're glued in place, I'm going to go ahead and paint the black. You can also go ahead and paint it black initially, but I think this way here, I'll be able to kind of grasp it a little bit better. I'm also going to paint the light bucket in silver just to give it a little more contrast. All right, so I've got the backing painted silver. And next we'll take our flush cutters. Now these are available using the ultra detail plastic from Shapeways, or what we've got here is a very simple resin print. The detail is outstanding. So we'll just kind of tidy this up. I feel like I should test fit these, given the fact that I aggressively layered this in paint. And I do want to make sure, yeah, they'll sit nicely in there. Okay. I just want to make sure. I usually calculate these things for, additional paint thicknesses and all that when I'm designing it, so that when you do layer all this stuff, it still fits. We need some super glue. Little dab, little dab. Drop the light straight in. I'm going to do the exact same thing to the roll bar, but just times 4. So the roll bar is done. And again, I'm going to paint these up a little bit later. But now I want to install it. You got 2 ways to do this. Number one, you could glue it in place, use some hot glue on the bottom. But the way this is actually designed is to use these tiny, tiny magnets. I cannot recall how big they are or where I got them. However, that information is on the screen right now. There's links in the description, theoretically. And what you do is you just take one of these suckers, you just pop it in the little slot right there. Give it a little push in. All right, so you want to do that to all 4 of these. Due to the magnet size and the fact that it has to go through a little bit of height on this foot here, the magnetic force has to go through the thickness of the bed. What I recommend, instead of a piece of metal, just get another one of these little magnets here. I'm going to set it right, I'm going to set it right there. We're going to place it underneath the truck like that. Hold it in place. Take the magnet, and it's right around here. There it is. Let the magnet fall there, because remember, these magnets have the north and south along the axis. Okay, so now with that in place, I already have one in there that I put in and glued earlier. And don't worry about the initial placement, as long as we can get it close. Okay, there's one there. And the final one, unfortunately, is buried behind all the light stuff. Okay, but it kind of just drops straight on in there, okay? So that's all 4 of them. If I move this, okay, you see that? All right, so now let's flip it over and simply make sure that it's in the right spot. Okay, it should pretty much just push all the way to the front. Okay, line up the rear posts, flip them back. That looks really good. Flip them back over. Get a bit of super glue and just a little dab, and that's it. So the last thing we're going to do is install the bull bar. This is going to be pretty easy. However, you will need additional screws, and these can be kind of annoying to find. These are M1.6 self-tapping screws. So what I did is I found some of these screws that are, 2 millimeters longer than the factory ones. So basically you have these 2 mounts. This design is incredibly similar to my Trailfinder bull bar. Again, I did copy the actual file for the cosmetic portion of this, but the mounting system is a little bit more unique to this vehicle. Okay, so we're gonna try and get this in here first. I did drill this out, but apparently my bit is a little bit too small. The reason I want to actually break through this is I don't want to cross thread the mounts beneath. Okay, so that's this one here. I'm going to do that to all four, and then I'm just going to go ahead and mount it to these mounts. The bolt bar is on. Now, just to be very clear, you can see how tight everything is around the front bumper. The slot between the front of the bull bar and the bulkhead for the servo is only about 1.5 millimeters. So basically, you've got to slot the front valance panel directly into it. And you can see how tight it is around the bumper. It doesn't touch. It's just nice and snug, as it should be. So there you go. Once that's in there, it's remarkably sturdy. This is, again, made out of multi-jet fusion, which is outstanding. The prototype was done on a resin printer. Now, I did print this cosmetic side down, which you wouldn't usually want to do. But the reason I did that is I was more concerned about the fitment of the rear than how this looked. An FDM, good luck with that. Now, what has hung in there is the rear bumper. Again, I printed this cosmetic side down because I wanted to make sure that these little pins were appropriate. And they are. And that is how we install the rear bumper. So, again, here's my bumper. If you flip it over, you can see the two little posts right there. Take this, line that up, and give it a push. Now, here's the deal. I anticipated, so there's little holes in here, okay? I actually anticipated using little pins to hold this in place, but after I painted it, it really doesn't want to come out. So instead of securing it, I'm not going to do that. It's not going anywhere. So that's it. We've got our rear bumper, we've got our bull bar, our roll bar, which is this is just too much fun. Let me just that's really cool. I love that. And now our little Trailfinder looks just, I think, pretty darn outstanding, if I do say so myself. We do have some Ampro wheels that I designed here. These will be linked as well. These are not multi-piece wheels. These are a single piece. A little bit of shoe glue and the tire stays right on there. I'm not a huge fan of these bead locks because I really, the way I drive my cars, I really don't ever take advantage of that. The Trailfinder 2 Mini I thought was always just an outstanding looking vehicle. It looks beautiful. Links are, of course, in the description. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.